Buongiorno a tutte e a tutti, siamo qui con l'ultimo appuntamento in avvicinamento, anche se oggi inizia 3070 Doc Fest, in direzione 3070 Doc Fest. Il festival inizierà appunto stasera alle 19 col film d'apertura, Far Away My Shadow Wandered, continuerà fino a domenica sera alle 21 al Multisala Verdi, sala 1 in questo caso, con il film di chiusura One More Jump di Emanuele Gerosa più la premiazione. Oggi abbiamo qui con noi Guido Hendrikx di A Man and the Camera, uno dei film che abbiamo più atteso, più anche rimuginato, che ci ha posto molte domande. È un film ironico, tagliente, spiazzante sull'atto di filmare. Un film che non è teorico, parte da uno esperimento però e raggiunge in inspiegabili e insperati picchi di perturbamento nelle visioni e nelle vite dei cittadini di una piccola città della campagna olandese. Il film, come dicevo, parte da questo esperimento che banalmente il puntare la macchina da presa di fronte a qualcuno e che non se lo aspetta perché ti presenti davanti casa sua. A parlarne qui con noi oggi abbiamo il regista Guido Hendrikx. L'intervista sarà condotta in inglese, c'è anche la mia collega Viviana Carlet con cui concludiamo questo ciclo di interviste assieme. Il film A Man in the Camera sarà proiettato domani pomeriggio alle 17, un evento assolutamente imperdibile, recuperatelo, venite al cinema a vederlo e passo all'inglese. Hi Guido, hi Viviana.
Hi.
I will just like to start with Guido by asking you, and I know that I'm stealing the question from Viviana that I really would like to ask you, but how really the idea of A Man in the Camera came to you? The idea of like going to someone else's house, ring the doorbell and film it the reaction.
Yeah, the idea evolved during a process, you could say. So it started one day in 2012. I was still studying in film school in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And I did this little experiment where I started randomly film people on the street. It was in Belgium back then, as an exercise in perpetual silence, like the basic concept of the film. And the reason why I started doing it is because I was looking for an adventure. And it took another 3 or 4 years until I revisited the material. And then in the beginning, I didn't have any plan to continue this project, but when I saw the material again with fresh eyes 4 years later, there were 3 things that caught my attention, or that fascinated me, and that also made me decide to take the project on in a serious manner. One was the very, in my view, strange tension that existed within these encounters. 2, the way it was referring to the power dynamics between the one filming and the one being filmed. So the way this exercise, this kind of approach, was also reflecting on the medium of film itself. And 3, the opportunity with this way of filming also to explore certain aspects of human behavior that were also new to me. So it started a little bit like a coincidence, and then I revisited the material, and then I got more intrigued, and then I started to expand the project on a much wider scale, and also conceptualize restrictions and the whole concept.
And talking about the previous film you did, how do you continue your research and your work with video, arriving to this film? Is there any elements that brings from all the others research that you did and you arrive here, or is something completely new and completely different from what arrived before?
You mean previous films, like films I did, or you mean just this project?
Previous film you did, yeah.
Yeah, the film I made before, a feature-length hybrid documentary, Strange in Paradise, was exploring the power relations between Europeans and migrants. So you could say that that was something that I that continued. So my interest in power dynamics of the one behind and in front of the lens, and also in general how people relate to each other. And for the rest, I think it was quite the opposite in terms of the way my previous films were very constructed. This film, I was much more dependent on spontaneity and coincidence. So I think that's the only comparison.
I'm talking about these coincidences and all these reactions. What scared you more, and which were the reaction that you were really surprised to record?
Well, like generally, I was surprised that I had expected maybe more aggressive or more denying reactions, you could say. In the end, there were like 8 to 10 occasions where people became really aggressive, but taking in mind that I went to at least 400 front doors in the Netherlands in all different regions through the whole rural landscape of the country, I think that there was a surprise. So it was overall it was more welcoming than I expected. And of course, there were some encounters that didn't end up in the film. For example, that I remember at a certain point, I had these little papers that I pushed through the mail slots of the people that I encountered when I knew that I disturbed them, and then I was just saying that the material would be deleted. And then at one occasion, when I put this letter, someone grabbed my fingers and tried to break it. So that was kind of a surprise to me. That were basically the two biggest surprises, you could say. Yeah.
And did you expect, in a way, when you first started your research and your filming, what happened? The main character that we can say, like the main character of your movie. Did you expect that something like that could happen?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, because like I stated before, so the first reasons to really continue this project after those 4 years when I just put it aside were more related to what as I mentioned, like the power balance, human behavior. But then when I started to do it more often on a bigger scale, then at a certain moment in the process, there was this man, a physiotherapist, who let me inside his home for the first time. So being let inside was not part of the plan in the beginning. But then, of course, also more themes ended up being explored in the film, I think. Like what level of intimacy can you reach with this approach? Like the theme of trust and mistrust, the theme of how do we relate as human beings to the unknown. So then it became a bit broader, and that's also the moment when I started to expect that it was possible to enter someone's home and to build a relationship and to return multiple times. So regarding your question about the main character, at a certain point I did expect that this could happen, but I never knew exactly how this relationship would develop. That was still a kind of a surprise. So all the time I set myself, I had a strict set of limitations and rules, what to do and what not to do. But within these boundaries, I think my intuition played a big part.
Okay, and it's also incredible the different reaction that people had in front of being filmed. But I'm also interested in the reaction you had in filming, because what we see is the being filmed part, and I was curious about what was your experience, also in a very human way, not in the filmmaker way, but in the human way. What was um, the things that you keep having since this experience?
Yes, I think for me it's not easy to separate like a human way and a filming way, especially with this project, because those two are very much intertwined, I think. But of course, I think this was for me by far the most difficult film to make, also the most personal film to make, because for me it was, I would say, not very easy to do it, because every time I went to someone's doorstep, actually from beginning to end, I always felt a certain resistance, and that resistance, I think, was a sort of mixture between, I would say, shame on the one hand, and maybe kind of like power and excitement on the other one. So there was this voice in my head saying, "What are you doing? Why are you harassing those people? What kind of nonsense is this? Like immature, an immature kind of approach, and not right, not the right thing to do." And that at the other voice in my head was constantly saying, "Yeah, but maybe it's also good that you are experiencing something that's ripping yourself apart as a filmmaker or as a human being. So maybe for me, to a certain extent, making a film is also about trying to somehow visualize the ambiguities and how do you say it, like the conflicts that are in my own mind, and this film was for me kind of a performance that I'm not used to do, and had a lot of conflict while doing it. So I was always, to a certain extent, hesitant or excited or ashamed. All these was a kind of mixture of different feelings.
And were you alone filming all this? I think so. And how the reaction of the people watching the film, if they watch the film, and there was any resistance of giving you the rights to do this, or how it worked, everything, all the process? Because yeah, I can imagine that it was pretty difficult for someone. Someone on the other side was so happy to have you there, even if okay, it was really an extreme situation. But how did it work also after? Because it's not just the shooting.
Yeah, it was a bit risky, you could say, because we had to wait until the final stages of editing before we could go back to the people to ask for permission to use the material for a very obvious reason, that I didn't want to break the code of no communication, at least verbal communication, during the process, and I could still return to people. So we really had to wait a long time, but fortunate enough, we took our time, like several weeks, to go back to all the places I went to. I mean, all the places that ended up in the final cut, or almost the final cut, you could say, which were maybe 20-25 places. Yeah, fortunately enough, we took our time to explain the concept and what our ideas were, releasing this film into the world. And then I think 95% agreed immediately to be part of it. And they, of course, they had a lot of questions, and we answered them. We had long conversations, but they were generally they were enthusiastic about it, and they appreciated that we came back all the way. Also by knowing that sometimes people weren't even at home, and then we lost half a day or a full day, and we had to come back. And there were a few that just had like this principle: I don't want to be involved in any of this, and then we had to change these scenes.
Okay, and when the film was completed, edited, and everything, what was your also your take on the film now that since the premiere was like 1 year ago? What is your opinion on the film? Your also the way you would like to describe after so much time the film in your own words, because we can see different perspective in your film, but I was curious, like what is your film in your vision now that we are the 19th of November?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, because I figured that after it was being released, there were many different reactions and also quite different interpretations of the film. Like, I remember people saying that it starts out as a like kind of a deep end horror movie and ends like a feel good film. Which I didn't really expect. Like this, of course, we were in the beginning of the film, we were looking for an alienating effect, you could say, and like strangering also the way we worked on the sound design, but like a horror kind of reference, I didn't have that in mind. But for me, I think the film turned out as an you could say an ode to those who embraced patience and trust, who are in these times still able to embrace the silence and are able to trust other people, and that they can't necessarily predict what's their agenda or something.
And a really short question, in fact. The film is shot in Netherlands, and in your opinion, was the film also speak about Netherlands and Netherlands population, or in your vision is more like human being in general? So do you think that you will make the same film in Italy or in Spain or in UK? It will be just like this, or you think it speak also on the place where you shot the film?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I, like, the honest answer is that I don't know the answer, of course, because that's something you should really try. For me, I got some reactions, and I got the feeling it of course it has a certain atmosphere, and it says something about the Netherlands, but still, I only went to 400 doors out of 2 million. So I think it wouldn't be fair to say that this is like like really a portrait of the Netherlands or something. Also, of course, I limited myself to the rural areas and not the cities, so there also the reactions could be different. So for me, it was more about human behavior in general, and I think I would expect that in different countries, different cultures, you get different reactions. But that's just a wild guess. It could also be very similar. It's something maybe were to try once, but also, what if I was a woman behind the camera? What kind of film would you get then? It's also things that that would interest me.
And what about the next projects? Because we want to already watch next film.
Yes, I'm now currently just finishing another documentary that I developed and created parallel to this film. And I think it will be released in the beginning of next year. And currently I'm more now working on feature films, developing them and trying to tell stories through complete fiction. That's where I'm focused on now.
Great. Guido, thank you so much for your time and for being with us.
Thank you.
I will switch to Italian just to end the conversation. Grazie Guido per essere stato con noi. Io vi ricordo che il film è visibile domani al Multisala Verdi, sala 2 alle 17. Come potete aver sentito ora, il film è assolutamente imperdibile, è un viaggio unico all'interno dell'essere umano e del cinema documentario in una maniera più generale. Oggi inizia 3070 DocFest e noi vi diamo appuntamento per le 2 proiezioni delle 19 e delle 21, 2 film che vengono dall'Asia, 2 film bellissimi, molto diversi, e davvero scopriteli, ma scoprite anche tutti i film che proietteremo in questo weekend, che si concluderà domenica ore 21, sala 1 del Multisala Verdi, con la cerimonia di premiazione, il film vincitore e One More Jump di Emanuele Gerosa, un altro film imperdibile, proiezione speciale fuori concorso di 3070 DocFest. Io vi ringrazio, questo qui era l'ultimo degli appuntamenti in avvicinamento che io e Viviana abbiamo condotto, è stato un piacere e vi do appuntamento a stasera in presenza e poi dal 22 online. Grazie mille e buona continuazione.
Oh, can I ask a question to you? I don't know if it's because what do you think if you would have this would adopt this approach, making a film like this in Italy? How would the people react? Or maybe in the town or your city where the film festival is being held?
I left the words to Viviana.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, I was thinking before while we were speaking that I think it's really different also from where you're going to do this, in which part of Italy, in which part of the city. It's really different. We have also different, let's say, first reactions. For example, where we live, now at this exact moment, we're not even in Vittorio Veneto, that is a city. We're in a small village called Lago, and the reaction, I think, at the beginning will be really tough and a bit rejecting a bit the new. Okay, because it's a kind of mountain attitude that we have, a kind of character, a bit tough character and close. So then we are pretty warm, but at the beginning we are more pushing away the new things, let's say. Maybe in other areas they are more also funny, also as reactions. So I would expect more funny reactions, also with using really funny words and funny yes. So I would expect more. If you said that you had only 8 bad reactions over 800,
Well,
here I would
yeah,
expect a bit more.
Yeah, but I mean 8 aggressive, but of course.
Okay, really aggressive. Okay.
I think out of the 400, maybe 350 were like just closing the door like after a few seconds, or like, you know, so
Yeah.
of course, like the vast majority doesn't accept this kind of strange approach, I would say.
Yeah, but so yes, I'm not really able to imagine this situation realistic, create a realistic image. Also because we have this kind different characters if you are up in the mountains, but if you are from the center or from the south of Italy, the first reaction really is really different. Also, the first word you're gonna say to someone who is gonna push you, it's going to be different. Okay, there are some areas that they are really funny also when they are in really strange situations. So and others that they don't even have this kind of words to react. So but I'm also interested in what you said. You were a man behind the camera. What would happen if there was a girl? Or it's changing this, and it made me think a lot about this, and I would like really to see the reactions. But at the same time I was thinking about me doing this, and if I would do this, I think that I would be really stressed and maybe also depressed after many closing doors. So yeah, it's not so easy. It's really easy somehow, your film, because it's easy. You just ring a bell and you go away, and you wait, and then you go away. But it's really tough because it's also tough to watch it, because it's not a simple walk, and it's not just standing there watching something. So you have really big emotions when you watch it. And I think that being there also for the people opening the doors, so it's really strong, it's really tough. It's not easy at all, even if it's really easy to tell the story, let's say, how he's doing this. So yes, I don't really have an answer to this.
No, it's very difficult, of course, to make a guess, but no, it's I follow your analysis. Yeah.
Also, like, because you have to have the time to understand that it's a game, because I think that the first reactions, it's of course a reaction of fear. So the people are scared about what it's new, what it's different, what it's not understandable immediately. So the first reaction, I think, is this one. And if usually your language or your attitude is to use like jokes or this kind of reactions also to this kind of situations,
it also makes a difference what kind of camera you're using, because I was using quite a big professional camera, so I also got many people who gave it a chance because they were hoping to have won the lottery or something. They related to certain TV shows that are common in the Netherlands, and I'm sure in
cool.
Italy you have like similar kind of thing.
No, we don't have lotteries. We just have like something about chronicles, or maybe something that is going wrong, or maybe some jokes. But yes, maybe it's better if it's big, because it's clear that you have a camera. Because if you use a phone, for example, also this is different, or a small camera, I think it's going to be different.
Work then. I think
yes, you're right. Yes, it's really, really interesting. Yeah. So next time you have to come here. So we're gonna check. If you ring to 400 bells, maybe you cover the entire village where we live, or more, I think. So we have to use the entire area, but we can do it. We can do this kind of experience. I would be really curious about this. So thank you very much, and we're happy that we met you, and we hope to have you here, maybe to the next edition to the festival.
I will send my next film for sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye bye. Ciao.